Welcome to Craving the Heat, where desire takes the lead and every story leaves you wanting more. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments and keep up with our latest naughty stories. It was meant to be just a simple office gathering, something low-key, a way to ease into the end of a demanding year filled with long hours, tight deadlines, and barely enough time to breathe. My husband Steve had been eagerly looking forward to it for what felt like forever. He'd been talking about it nonstop, always mentioning how it would be a rare opportunity to relax and catch up with his coworkers, outside the confines of spreadsheets and staff meetings. "It'll be nice," he said more than once, "just to hang out with everyone without all the pressure." He was excited, genuinely thrilled in a way I hadn't seen in a while. And while I wasn't exactly thrilled myself, I went along with it. I've never had a soft spot for office parties. There's always a certain stiffness to them, a forced cheer painted over with strained laughter and awkward conversations. People who barely acknowledge your presence during regular workdays suddenly act like you're their closest friend. Their laughter just a bit too loud, their compliments too polished. But Steve's enthusiasm was contagious, and I didn't want to dampen it. So I smiled, put on a nice dress, and told myself it would be fine, even if I didn't fully believe it. The venue was lovely, one of those elegant places tucked away in a quiet part of town, where dim lighting created the illusion of intimacy and soft jazz floated through the air like perfume. The tables were decorated with intricate centerpieces, and the appetizers looked like they belonged in a high-end magazine, tiny portions arranged in artistic patterns on oversized white plates. It was all a bit much, honestly, but I could see why Steve liked it. There were a few familiar faces scattered throughout the room, coworkers I'd seen in passing at previous events, but most of the guests were strangers to me, people who existed in Steve's professional life, not ours. I stayed close to his side, offering a polite smile here and there, engaging in minimal small talk while trying to remain as invisible as possible. I wasn't there for them. I was there for him. That's when I noticed her. Carla. I had heard her name before, here and there, sprinkled casually into Steve's stories about work. Never with much emphasis, never enough to raise any red flags. But seeing her in person shifted something in me. She was striking late 30s, tall with sleek dark hair that framed her angular face perfectly. There was a confidence about her, the kind that wasn't loud or brash, but quietly magnetic. She had that rare presence that made people turn their heads without understanding why, and she was laughing at Steve's jokes, not just laughing, leaning in close, placing a hand on his arm lightly as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Her laughter was a touch too loud, her attention a touch too focused. I told myself not to read into it, not to be that wife. But something about her body language made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I tried to shake the feeling, but it clung to me like a second skin. Later that evening, after an hour or so of mingling and pretending to enjoy myself, I drifted toward the quieter end of the room. I found a spot near a tall window, tucked away from the chatter and clinking glasses, and sipped slowly from my wine. The chilled glass felt grounding in my hand, and for a moment I let myself just breathe. That's when she approached. Carla. She moved with the kind of ease that made it clear she knew she didn't have to try hard to be noticed. She carried her drink with grace, her smile effortless as she stopped beside me. "You must be Mary," she said, her voice smooth, almost syrupy. "I hope you're enjoying yourself tonight." Her tone was friendly, but her smile felt a bit too perfect, like something carefully rehearsed. I returned the gesture, keeping my own expression neutral. "I'm doing fine," I replied casually. "It's a lovely venue. The food's great." She chuckled softly, her eyes drifting across the room to where Steve was laughing with a few coworkers. "Steve's great, isn't he?" she said, almost dreamily. "He's always been so easy to talk to. It's no surprise everyone at work just adores him." I nodded slowly, choosing my words carefully. "Yeah, he's a good man. We've been together a long time." Her gaze lingered on Steve a moment longer before flicking back to me. "You two make such a charming couple," she said, her voice dropping just slightly, as if sharing something confidential. "He's lucky to have you. Very elegant, Mary. Very composed. Not many women can pull that off. I managed a polite smile, unsure what to make of her compliments. Then she added, her voice softer now, almost whispering, "Still, sometimes even the best people need a little spark, don't you think? A little excitement to break the routine." The words hung in the air like smoke-thin, curling, hard to grasp but impossible to ignore. Before I could formulate a response, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, her expression unreadable. "Excuse me, I need to take this," she said, then turned and walked away, her heels clicking against the floor like punctuation marks. I stood frozen for a moment, my stomach twisting with unease. What had she meant by that? Was she simply being flirtatious for the sake of it, or was there something deeper beneath her words? I told myself not to overthink it, to chalk it up to her being overly friendly, maybe even just a little tipsy. But the knot in my chest wouldn't go away. For the rest of the evening, I tried to push Carla from my mind. I smiled, made small talk, and clinked glasses when appropriate. But my thoughts kept circling back to her, the way she looked at Steve, the subtle smugness behind her words. Something didn't feel right, no matter how much I tried to convince myself otherwise. Eventually, the party began to wind down. Guests were slowly trickling out, saying their goodbyes, gathering coats and car keys. Steve and I made our way to the car, both of us a little tired, but pretending to be in good spirits. As we drove through the quiet streets, the glow of the dashboard lighting his face, I glanced over at him. "So, did you have a good time?" I asked lightly. He smiled, eyes on the road. "Yeah, it was nice. Gotta catch up with everyone." "Carla was fun to talk to. She's got such a lively energy, don't you think?" My smile faltered, but I forced it to stay. "Yeah," I said, my voice neutral. "She's something." He didn't seem to notice the edge in my tone. "She said she liked you," he continued with a chuckle. "Called you classy. Said I was lucky." I felt my stomach twist again. "Did she?" I said, my voice quieter. "Yeah, she's really nice. She's got this way of making everyone feel at ease. It's a rare gift." His words echoed in my mind long after they were spoken. Something in them unsettled me. Maybe it was the way he admired her so openly, or maybe it was the fact that I could still hear Carla's voice in my head, whispering about needing excitement. I didn't have proof, and I didn't want to accuse Steve of anything. But something had shifted inside me that night. In the days that followed, life went back to its regular rhythm. Steve returned to work, and I went about managing the home, keeping things running smoothly. But I couldn't stop thinking about her. Carla, whenever Steve came home late or mentioned someone from work, I found myself wondering, was she there? Was she talking to him, laughing at his jokes, brushing against his arm again? I hated the way those thoughts crept into my mind, but they did, constantly. And no matter how many times I told myself it was probably nothing, that Carla was just a charismatic woman who liked attention, I couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was going on. It wasn't until a week later that everything finally came to a head. I was on the phone with my sister, catching up on life as we always did when Steve's phone buzzed on the counter. I had been walking through the kitchen when I noticed at the bright screen showing a message preview from an unknown number. My curiosity got the best off me, and I walked over to see what it said. The message was from Carla. "Hey Steve, I know this might be a little forward, but I really enjoyed our conversation the other night. Let's catch up soon, just the two of us." I froze, my breath caught in my throat. The words were innocent enough, but there was a clear undertone that made my heart race. What was going on? Why was she reaching out to Steve like that? Why wasn't it a group thing or a more casual message? My mind started spinning. I couldn't help but wonder, was she trying to get close out of him? And what about the way she had acted at the party? Was I just overthinking everything, or had she been flirting with him all along? I stood there for a few moments, trying to steady my nerves. I knew I needed to confront Steve, but I wasn't sure how to go about it without sounding like I was accusing him of something he hadn't done. I didn't want to start a fight, but I couldn't ignore the sinking feeling in my stomach. Taking a deep breath, I picked up his phone and read the message one more time. Then I sent a quick reply to Carla from his phone, hoping it would buy me some time. Hey, Carla, thanks for the message. Steve's really busy with work, but I'll let him know you reached out. Hope you're redoing. Well, I hit send and placed that phone back down. Just as Steve walked into the kitchen, he glanced at me, high expression, soft and unsuspecting. Hey, you okay? He asked, his voice kind and a little curious. I smiled, trying to act normal. Yeah, just checking some methane. On your phone, everything fine, he nodded, but raised an eyebrow. You were sure? You don't look so sure. He hesitated. This was at the moment. I had to decide if I wanted to confront him or bury my feelings and pretend everything was okay. I saw Carla's message. I said, my voice quieter than I intended. She said she wanted to catch up with you. Steve looked momentarily confused. Why do you mean she sent me a message? Yes, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. It was just a casual invitation, but it seemed a little more than that. There was a long silence. I could see the wheels turning in Steve's head as he processed what I'd said. Finally, he sighed and walked over to me, gently taking my hands in his. Mary, I had no idea you were feeling this way, he said. His voice soft but earnest. Carla and I are just friends. I promise you she's a little forward sometimes, but there's nothing going on between. Yes, I didn't realize it was making you uncomfortable. I stared at him for a moment, trying to read his expression. Wash being genuine win, or was this just a well-practiced excuse? Then why didn't he ow? Tell me about the message, I asked, trying not to sound accusing, but failing a little. I didn't think it was a big deal. Steve admitted she's always been a little more outgoing than most people in the office. I didn't want you to think I was hiding anything though, but after seeing your reaction, I realized I should have been more upfront about it. I wanted to believe him, I really did, but a part of me still felt unsettled. Like something wasn't quite right. I just didn't want to feel like I'm being ignored or left out. I confessed, the vulnerability creeping into my voice. It's like she's trying to get closer to you, Steve, and I don't know if I trust their intentions. I know you're a good man, but I trailed off, unsure of what I was even trying to say. It wasn't like I thought Steve was cheating on me, but the thought of Carla insinuating herself into our lives felt too familiar, too nerving. Steve squeezed my hand, anxious, gaze softening. Mary, I love you. I only want to be with you. Carla is just a colleague, and I honestly didn't think it was a big deal, but if it's making you uncomfortable, I'll handle it. I'll make sure she knows there's nothing beyond friendship for me. I studied him for a moment, looking for any sign of insincerity, but all I saw was the man and married the man. I knew the doubt in my heart began to eat away, and I nodded slowly. Okay. I said quietly, still unsure, but willing to trust him. I just didn't want to feel like I'm losing you. Steve smiled and pulled me into a heap. You're not losing me, Mary, you'll never lose me. But deep down, a part of me wondered if there was more to Carla's intentions than either Steve or I. Realized the message was one thing. Butho, would things unfold from here? The next few days were strangely calm. Steve made an effort to keep me in the loop more, letting me know when Carla or anyone else from the office reached out to him. It helped, but the uneasy feeling never quite left my mind. Kept playing back that night at the office party. The way Carla looked at Steve, the way she seemed to linger just a little longer than necessary. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something he wasn't seeing. It was the following Friday when the real test came. Steve and he had made plans to spend the evening at home, a quiet night in just the two of us, but as I was preparing dinner, his phone buzzed again. I glanced over, my heart skipping a beat, when I saw Carr was named flash on the screen. This time, it wasn't just a casual message. It was a photo. Steve had left his phone on the counter, and my curiosity got the best of me. I walked over and picked it up, unable to ignore the pull of suspicion. The photo was of Carla taken at a cafe. She was smiling, widely looking carefree and happy, but that wasn't what caught my attention. What stood it out was the massage accompanying the photo. Just hot a coffee, and it reminded me of that night at the party. Would love to do a tag-in sometime, maybe without the crowds. Next time, I felt a chill run through me. First instinct was to drop the phone, but I couldn't. Something about that message, the underlying suggestion, made me stomach twist. I wasn't imagining it. She was trying to make her move. I took a breath and placed the phone back down before Steve could walk in. I didn't know how to approach him. Would he see it the way I did, or was I just overreacting? And when Steve came in from the living room, I was still standing by the counter trying to compose myself. He looked at me and I knew the moment I saw his face that something had shifted. Is everything okay? He asked, concerning his voice as he noticed the tension in their room. I nodded, but it wasn't convincing. I felt my chest tighten. I saw Carlos Masage said, keeping my voice as steady as I could. Steve's expression flickered and then he sighed. Mary. Steve interrupted, my voice trembling slightly. This is more than just friendly messages, isn't it? I saw her message and it wasn't just casual. She's trying to get closer to you. Steve stepped closer, a deep frown forming. Mary. I swear she's just a colleague. There's nothing happening. You're reading too much into this. But words felt hollow. Could see the frustration in his eyes, but I wasn't sure anymore if it was frustration at me or at these situations. Steve, it's not just a message anymore. I said, my voice quieter, but firm. It's the way she acts around you, the way she reaches out. I'm not blind, it feels like she's pushing boundaries and I don't think I can just ignore Itana more. He was silent for a long moment and the silence in the room was defining. Finally, Steve let out a long breath and rubbed his forehead. I know I haven't been the best at keeping things transparent with you. I didn't think anything of it because she's always been a little forward, but I see now how much it's bothering you and I need to fix that, I promise. I'll talk to her, make it clear that it's inappropriate. There was a part of me that wanted to believe him, but there was another part of me, the one that had seen Carla's subtle advance for firsthand, that wasn't so sure. I just need you to be honest with me. Steve, I said, feeling the weight of my own emotions pressing down on me. I don't want to feel like I'm being played for a fool. I'm not trying to play you. Mary Hesed, his voice softer now, the anger gone. I don't want to lose you over this. I'll talk to Carla and make sure she knows your place. You're the only one I care about. I looked into his eyes, searching for something. Reassurance, sincerity, anything, and for a brief moment, I found it. I could see the man I married, the Manwo, had promised me his loyalty, but even as I saw that a part of me was still uncertain, could I truly trust him, or was there something more beneath the surface? You spent the rest of the evening quietly, but the tension between us hadn't fully lifted. I knew Steve was trying, but Miming kept returning to Carla's message. What did it mean, and how far was she willing to go? The next morning after breakfast, Steve left for work, his usual routine, but as he walked out the door, I felt a strange sense of unease. I couldn't help but wonder if I had missed something, if there was more to this than he realized. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I wasn't going to sit back and wait for answers. I needed to know what was going on with Carla, and I needed to hear it from her. The days that followed were 10. But I knew I had to take control of the situation. I couldn't let doubt eat at me any longer. I needed to talk to Carla myself, clear the air, confront her hate, and I wasn't sure how exactly I was going to approach it, but something deep inside it told me it was the right thing to do. By the time Steve left for work on Monday, I made up my mind I'd speak with Carla. There was no other way to resolve a feeling of unease that had taken root in my heart. I reached out to her. My message was simple, direct. Hi, Carla. I was hoping we could talk. I've been feeling a bit uncomfortable with the way things have been between us lately. Would you be open to meeting up? The reply came almost instantly, and I could sense her readiness to meet. She agreed to meet me at a cafe nearby. Nothing fancy, just a quiet corner where I could have an honest conversation. I felt a wave of nervousness wash over me as I got dressed and prepared to leave. This wasn't going to be easy, but I knew I had to do it for the sake of my marriage. When I arrived at the cafe, Carla was already there, seated at a table by the window. She looked relaxed, sipping on a coffee and scrolling through her phone. Her expression calm, but as soon as she saw him, she put her phone down and gave me a polite smile, which didn't quite reach her eyes. Mary, hi, I wasn't sure if you were going to show up, she said, her tone almost playful. I sat down across from her, trying to steady my nerves. Wasn't sure if I should either, I replied, looking her directly in the eye. But I needed to talk to you about everything. Carla's smile faded slightly and she leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. I'm not sure what you mean. Is this about Steve? Yes, it's about Steve. I said, my voice steady but filled with fury of everything that had been bothering me. I don't know what's been going on between you two, but the way you've been reaching out to him, it doesn't sit right with me. She raised an eyebrow, but didn't interrupt. I know I haven't been the best at keeping things transparent. With you, I didn't think anything of it because she's always been a little forward, but I see now how much it's bothering you, and I need to fix that, I promise. I'll talk to her, make it clear that it's inappropriate. There was a part of me that wanted to believe him, but there was another part of me, the one that had seen Carla's subtle advance for firsthand, that wasn't so sure. I just need you to be honest with me, Steve. I say, feeling the weight of my own emotions pressing down on me. I don't want to feel like I'm being played for a fool. I'm not trying to play you. Mary hesitated, his voice softer now, the anger gone. I don't want to lose you over this. I'll talk to Carla and make sure she knows her place. You're the only one I care about. I looked into his eyes, searching for something, reassurance, sincerity, anything. And for a brief moment, I found it. I could see the man I married. The Manuel had promised me his loyalty, but Evana's, I saw that a part of me was still uncertain. Could I truly trust him or waste there? Something more beneath the surface. We spent the rest of the evening quietly, but the tension between us hadn't fully lifted. I knew Steve was trying, but Miming kept returning to Carla's message. What did it mean, and how far was she willing to go? The next morning after breakfast, Steve left for work, his usual routine. But as he walked out the door, I felt a strange sense of unease. I couldn't help but wonder if I had missed something, if there was more to this than he realized. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I wasn't going to sit back and wait for answers. I needed to talk, know what was going on with Carla, and I needed to hear it from her. The days that followed were tense, but I knew I had to take control of the situation. I couldn't let doubt eat at me any longer. I needed to talk to Carla myself, clear the air, confront her hidden. I wasn't sure how exactly I was going to approach it, but something deep inside told me it was the right thing to do. By the time Steve left for work on Monday, I had made up my mind. I had to speak with Carla. There was no other way to resolve the feeling of unease that had taken root in my heart. I reached out to her. My message was simple, direct. Hi, Carla. I was hoping we could talk. I've been feeling a bit uncomfortable with the way things have been between us lately. Would you be open to meeting up? The reply came almost instantly, and I could sense her readiness to meet. She agreed to meet me at a cafe nearby. Nothing fancy, just a quiet corner where I could have an honest conversation. I felt a wave of nervousness wash over me as I got dressed and prepared to leave. This wasn't going to be easy, but I knew I had to do it for the sake of my marriage. When I arrived at the cafe, Carla was already there, seated at eatable by the window. She looked relaxed, sipping on a coffee and scrolling through her phone. Her expression calm, but as soon as she saw him, she put her phone down and gave me a polite smile, which didn't quite reach her eyes. Mary, hi. I wasn't sure if you were going to show up, she said, her tone light, almost playful. I sat down across from her, trying to steady my nerves. Wasn't sure if I should either. I replied, looking her directly in the eye, but I needed to talk to you about everything. Carla's smile faded slightly, and she leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. I'm not sure what you mean. Is this about Steve? Yes, it's about Steve, I said, my voice steady, but the laugh with the weight of everything that had been bothering me. I don't know what's been going on between you two, but the way you've been reaching out to him, it doesn't sit right with me. She raised an eyebrow, but didn't interrupt. I took a deep breath and continued, feeling a sense of urgency. Now, I know we've never really talked much, but I can't ignore messages the way you've been trying to get closer to him. It feels inappropriate. Carla's eyes softened a little, but there was a flicker of something behind them, something I couldn't quite place. I see, she said quietly. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. That was never my intention. For a moment, I was thrown off. I had expected her to be defensive, taunting it, or dismiss my feelings, but instead she seemed almost apologetic. Then, why did you send him that message after the party? I pressed me, heart racing. You said you wanted Tommy up, just the two of you. It didn't seem casual. Carla looked down at her coffee for a moment, then met my gaze, this time with a quiet sincerity. I'm not going to lie to you, Mary, she begged, in her voice softer now. I did enjoy talking to Steve at the party. He's keen, he listens, but I've never had any intention of breaking up your marriage. I respect that he's with you, and I can see how much you love each other. I should have known better than to blur the lines. Sat back in my chair, the weight of her words sinking, and part of me wanted to be angry, but the other part of me felt relief. She was being honest of anything I hadn't expected. I never meant to cause any trouble, she continued. I didn't want to be the reason for any doubt. Between you and Steve, if I've crossed any boundaries, I truly appeal. It's just sometimes it's easy to forget that people and happy marriages are off limits. Seem sorry for not respecting that. I was silent for a moment, processing what she had said. It was an unexpected confession and that I wasn't sure how to handle. Carla wasn't the villain. I had painted her to be. She wasn't trying to steal Steve away from me. She had just let herself get a little too caught up in the tension. He gave her thank you for being honest with me. I said at last, my voice quieter than before. I appreciate, and I'm sorry for jumping to conclusions. Carla gave me a small smile. I understand. It's natural to feel protective of what's yours, and Stevie's a good guy. He's lucky to have someone like you. I nodded, feeling a weight lift off my chest. There was still a lingering sense of you, but it wasn't about Carla anymore. It was about me and Steve and how we needed to rebuild our trust. It wasn't going to be easy, but it was specifically as I left the cafe, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I wasn't sure what the future held, but I knew one thing: I needed to trust Steve. If I didn't, I would never be able to move forward. The conversation with Carla had helped, but now it was time to focus on my Maria Jado focus onus. When I got home later that evening, Steve was already there, sitting on the couch, waiting for me. He looked up as I walked in, his expression cautious but thoughtful. How did it go? He said quietly. I sat down beside him, taking a deep breath. We talked, and she was honest with me. There's nothing between you two, Steve, but I need to trust you more, and I need you to be more open with Steve. Nodded, a look of relief crossing his face. I can do that. I'll be better, I promise. I don't want to low-say you over something so small. I smiled, feeling a warm in my chest. I don't want to lose you either. We sat there in silence for a moment, the weight of off conversation hanging between us, but this time it felt different. It felt like we're both ready to move forward, top with the past behind us, and focus on rebuilding what we had. It wouldn't be easy, but it would be worth it.